Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Elizabeth Wong Ahlers. I'm running for state senate here in California. Election day is November 5th. So we're revving up, getting ready for election day, and I've got my friend Tara here. I love Tara. I invited her because she is such a go-getter for Gen Z. And I love hearing what she has to say about the perspective as a Gen Z young person and in politics. So,
Thank you so much for having me today, Elizabeth. I'm really looking forward to this.
yeah, thanks, Tara. When we went on a trip a few weeks ago, we were up in by San Francisco for convention, and then we decided to take a field trip. So, yeah, we had a Suburban full, and Tara was in the back with um, equipment, and we did some interviews up there. That was fun.
Yeah, we got to film on the streets of San Francisco, just different people, different bystanders. That was really awesome, yeah.
We've been hearing so much about San Francisco having tons of homeless people in there, needles everywhere, human excrement. And so we went to see for ourselves. And we were surprised, weren't we?
Yeah, I gotta say, it was pretty surprising. I saw a lot of officers, a lot of people, trying to make sure that the streets were clean. And I did see homeless people, but I didn't think that, it didn't seem that bad to me, this recent trip, which was not, maybe a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so visually we were surprised because it looked cleaner than LA, honestly. Yeah, and we went through the Tenderloin area, which is supposedly the worst of it. So, but we did find people on the street to talk to, and so I wanted to hear from them. Rico, you've been living here 30 years.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, I heard that the sidewalks were full of trash and needles, and it was dangerous. Lots of homeless people living on the streets. Can you tell me why we're not seeing that today?
Okay, I can tell you where you can go down the Willow Alley.
Oh yeah?
Go down to Larkin. Right
Larkin.
there. That's 2 blocks.
Some of their experience. We found one guy who he said he'd been in San Francisco 38 years. He had been homeless 3 times, but his big comment was the city swelling with homeless people.
Like, if you're here tonight, go down by the library, and you'll see, like, so many people, like it's a parade. The Hondos, let me shut up. They just party down there, and it's like...
It's like a
what
parade?
you want to see. It's what you want to see. What you asking me about. And then the police come like every 2 hours, run them off, and they come right back.
And so we said, where are they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we said, where are they? He goes, well, go down to this alley. They're containing them in there. So San Francisco's working on their appearance, but they're containing the people somewhere.
Yeah. And I don't know. I couldn't tell you exactly. Anything I say is pure speculation. But as I brought the issue and the experience up to other people at the convention, one person said to me, "Oh, that's politicized because this is an election season, and they, the current people in power, in charge of San Francisco and just California in general, are trying to create, a quick illusion to a clean, safe neighborhood like it's always been there." But in reality, if you've been in San Francisco last year or the year before that or the year before that, it has been quite terrible and quite dangerous. And this, you hear about the smash and grabs and the car theft and the random stabbings and acts of violence. So it is interesting that now overnight, they had the solution the whole time. What's going on?
So I asked this guy, so where are the needles that I hear about? And he goes, they have a special person that comes out every day and collect the needles. And then they have another special person that comes out to clean up the the poops.
Oh no.
Yeah, I
Oh
said,
my
well, if we have to
goodness.
go between the cars,
Yeah.
they've got someone to clean it up.
Yeah.
So it was clean for us, and I was like, oh, it's great for tourists.
Yeah.
But the lives of these people on the street. So I said, so if the city's swelling with homeless,
Yeah.
where are they coming from? And he said they're coming from out of state and from other areas. They're not. He's been here 38 years. He's been on the streets himself, but he said these people are coming from out of the city because San Francisco has so many resources.
Yeah.
And
It's almost attracting them.
yeah, so we talked to another guy, and I said, where are you from? And he said, oh, he's from Sonoma, and he came for the resources.
Yeah.
And
And I remember another thing that guy said too was he couldn't tell if it was his own addiction, because he was saying that he was being given drugs by a lot of these resources.
Yeah.
He's being given drugs.
they can give him 4 Narcan a day.
Okay, and then and then that kind of outweighs the effect of opiates, right? So
And fentanyl.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they're kind of, in a way, enabling him to take a lot of opiates and a lot of, stuff like fentanyl, and then they're giving him Narcan so that he doesn't die. So, yeah, it's interesting. The state's resources are being used to kind of enable and fuel people's drug problems. And I remember that.
Yeah, and see, people see all that on YouTube because people post what's going on YouTube, and somebody else see that, like especially teenagers, they see that and they come out here to get involved or whatever. That's what's going on. There's so many new faces out here now. It done turned over like 3 times since I've been here. So many different people, from everywhere.
New faces and
Yeah.
coming from out of state.
Yep.
And so why do they want to come to San Francisco from out
To
of
hang out and
state?
party or whatever and get resources, because there's a lot of resources out here to tap into,
That guy, the second guy that you interviewed, because I was filming them, he said he couldn't tell if it was his own addiction or just the state kind of these resources programs drug pushing him. But that guy seemed like he was at risk.
They provide hygiene products, hand sanitizing, wipes, clean needles, because they don't want people sharing needles because that's obviously a problem.
So they give you needles.
They give you needles. They basically just check in with you day to day. You know what I mean? Like if you go in there day to day. Here's an example, like these little you see these at like in a diabetic's cabinet usually.
Oh, okay. Easy touch insulin syringe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, can I ask you? Your name's Chris.
Yeah, or Christopher,
yeah, Chris.
whatever.
So, what kind of addiction are you recovering from?
Well, all types. Like I said, it's, most drug users are self-medicating for the most part. You know what I mean? Like me, like I've always been told I have like ADHD. They gave me like Adderall and stuff as a child. You know what I mean? That stimulates the dopamine in your brain.
Right.
So I don't know if I already had a problem or if they gave me a problem. You know what I mean? But regardless, there's a lot of people like me that like get high day to day just to kind of maintain. You know what I mean? Like,
he really wants to get in a better lifestyle, a better place, but he doesn't seem to be getting the kind of help he really needs. I don't know.
Yeah.
What brought you to San Francisco?
well, funny enough, recovery.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So do you like living out here on the sidewalk? Because I hear, there's others that are in this other area, and he pointed to the building right behind him. He goes, oh, I will not live in there. And he goes, oh, there's a hotel across the street. I will not live in there. And then there's 7 down the road. I will not live in there. It's worse than being out here on the sidewalk. So it's just, it was really interesting to meet the people.
Yeah.
and hear what they're seeing.
Yeah.
How about housing?
Horrible.
What kind of free housing can you get?
You get an SRO, which is basically a glorified shithole hotel. You go to the hotel, they tell you who you can and can't see. People have to have an ID to come and see you. You're going to check in through this and this time. Like, I mean,
you don't want to stay
I don't
there?
want an SRO, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, and then I remember there was a whole thing at the convention too that talked about public safety, and so yeah, I mean there was that aspect of like the tourists are you didn't see a bunch of them being attacked, you didn't see a lot of the houses being terrorized or the businesses being terrorized, but yeah, the question does rise like how long will that solution work? Or is it a Band-Aid, Is it a Band-Aid under an infection that's just going to keep growing and getting worse? And will it explode, these are the kind of questions that...
Yeah, California spent something like $21 billion to solve the homeless problem, and it's been getting worse, not better, because I think we've got something like 17% more homeless that have been joining the numbers.
Now with the fentanyl thing, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of a darker vibe. You know what I mean?
So fentanyl is a darker vibe.
For sure. It's just,
and so then people
are more selfish, you know what I mean? They're more concerned about themselves, and coming up on other people is so easy when there's drugs involved, because people fall asleep. Like, it's basically you get high and you fall asleep. Everybody who does it, that happens. And then people take your things if you're not around trustworthy people, and San Francisco surprisingly doesn't have a lot of trustworthy people. And it's not just the homeless that taking from the homeless, it's like people that have homes taking from the homeless too, you know what I mean? Like, it's I don't know. I don't know what the answers are.
Like that guy said, the homeless population is swelling, you just can't see it. So that's like, is it gonna burst, Well, and those are the kind of questions that will affect public safety, So, I guess the question is, what is the solution?
And
they create a problem just to fix it so that these people get paid when, you know what I mean? Like, it's very blatant, and I don't see how people just let it happen. It's like basically, it's like racketeering in a way, you know what I mean? It's like old school mob style racketeering.
Yeah.
But
Do you think people are making money off of the homeless situation?
yeah. and the drug addiction. Like, it don't cost us any money, but every single Narcan that we get given, it's like $100 and something for each one of those things. You know how many people they hand out? Probably 300 a day. You know what I mean? Like,
They give out 300
I don't quote me on that. I don't know if it's 300, but I know that they always ask me, do I need Narcan when I go to get my harm reduction supplies, and I say yes or no. And I know people who every time just say yes, give me a. And so, say you go there for a year, you get 4 Narcans every day. That's like 1,300, whatever. I don't know the exact number, but that's like a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and this kind of solution isn't sustainable. We've had, there's been changing numbers on the deficit in California, but it's gone from 73 billion somewhere around to 47 billion, 43 billion in the deficit. So if this friend of ours on the street got 4 treatments of Narcan a day, that's $1,500 a day for that one guy. But there's all kinds of policies that are just not sustainable financially in our state, and so it's going to start cutting into education. 40% of the state budget goes to education, and Governor Newsom said he's going to have to start cutting into that.
Wow. And is there a risk to the public safety of Californians if California is seen as a safe haven for all of Americans, drug addicts and homeless people and mentally ill? Does California being the safe haven for the mentally ill, for the drug addicts, will that eventually affect the public safety of Californians?
Oh, definitely. We hear about people getting shot by homeless people, and also people coming over the border. So, what was the actor's name that got shot last weekend in Los Angeles?
I didn't know about that.
right on the streets. Yeah, he was coming out of work and he was walking a colleague to her car,
Yeah.
and someone was taking his catalytic converter off his car. He thought they were towing it, and so he said, "Oh, what's going on?" They came out with a gun, shot him dead.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even hear about that. That's terrible.
And there's no suspect found. It's been a week.
Are you saying that like those kind of random acts of violence will increase as the homeless population swells in California?
It definitely can. And there's no with things like Proposition 47 that we are trying to repeal right now. These people feel there's no consequence, and with I'm going to say corrupt DAs
Yeah.
like Gascon, there's no fear of prosecution.
Yeah.
So it's becoming Wild West, lawlessness.
Yeah, that's really terrifying, especially as like a youth and I'm supposed to be growing up and thriving in California, right?
Yes, and I've got 6 children too, and yeah, they're about your age, your time in life, getting married and starting a career, and hoping to be able to purchase some property of their own to raise their family in. And so housing is another big issue in California. We are the most unaffordable state
Yeah.
in our country.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to own a house, honestly, with the way things are right now for Gen Z and just the economy. I mean,
I know, and I feel for you, and I feel for my kids. So running, and that was my motivation for running for state senate for your generation, because the way things have been going for decades now, it's going to take time to turn things around. But I'm doing it for your generation because for us, we might not be able to see all the fixes in our lifetime, honestly, but you guys can. And I felt like, well, for the sake of your generation, we've got to start now. It's kind of a crazy time politically to run for office, but if we don't do something now, it's just going to get worse. So I'm doing it for you, Tara.
Thank you. No, that gives me a lot of hope, actually, because I believe that things could improve, with the right leadership and with the right perseverance from our population. I think that's that's kind of a misconception that I often run into is people think, well, voting doesn't really matter, and I don't know what to say to them all the time.
Well, there is hope. There is hope. It's not too late. I say this is our time, because if not now, when? Now is the best time. And I've traveled around the world. I've done humanitarian work in South America, Bolivia, Asia, India, and it can get worse. It can get a lot worse. So, even our homeless situation is nothing compared to what I've seen in places like India. But we don't want it to get worse, and we want your children to experience the California dream too. So voting does matter. November 5th is the election day, and this I don't know. Do you know how the California legislature is structured?
No.
There's assembly, and there's the state senate. So there's 80 members in the assembly, 40 members in the state senate. For years now, there's been a very imbalance of representation in our legislature. So right now, I'm running for state senate in District 25, and up in Sacramento in the state senate, 32 out of 40 state senators all vote the same for all the bills, and there's only 8 who may vote differently. But so there's a lot of imbalance, And I think the way that the state spending has been going has been out of control because there's not enough diverse voices to say, hey, we need to start taking care of our economy, our gas taxes, these things that are sending people out of the state. And we don't have the money to be a sanctuary state for everything. So we need some balance, and that's why I'm running for state senate. Another reason.
That's really good to know, because a lot of that information is it's kind of sealed. It's hard to find, and so thank you for sharing that with me, because that's really important to know. And I mean, sometimes I think the voting process feels overwhelming. I mean, a lot of people I know don't even know the processes of it, or it's kind of vague. There's no instructions. We don't really get. I mean, I'm sure there are instructions, but they can be hard to find.
Well, it starts with citizenship for one thing, and then you need to be registered. So, registration, you could go to Secretary of State website and register online. You can call up my website. I'll help you, elizabethforsenate24.com, and we walk you through the process of registering to vote, and do that now, because if you wait too long before election day, then you may have to use a provisional ballot, or your vote just might be more to process. And so registration is first, and then you'll get things in the mail that will be like there's a kind of a voter guide giving you instructions. You can vote by mail, because the ballots will come to your house, or you can vote in person, which I think is a lot more fun, because you feel like you're really participating in the process. And so they have voter centers all over, and those will open up about 2 weeks before November 5th. So there's early voting, and there's mail voting. So and there's Dropbox, all kinds of ways to vote. They've really been trying to make it easier to vote. But I always think that going in person, it's really fun. And we go in as a family, and we all get the stickers. Yeah, I voted.
That's awesome. I love that. It's like a family affair. Also, I've just, in the primaries just recently happened, right? I felt, along with a lot of other people, I think, a lot of confusion. It's hard to take time out of our busy lives and research every single person on the ballot. And sometimes it can feel like looking for a needle in a haystack,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's hard. But, podcasts like these are going a lot now. And so you can start listening now, listen to people. I think that it is hard to choose who to vote for, because you feel like anybody can say whatever they want. And then when they get in office, are they really going to be able to fulfill those promises?
Yeah.
And so I go with who you can trust. And so I like to tell people I'm running on love, lives, liberty, law. That's my slogan. It starts with love. I'm doing this out of love. Like I said, for your generation, for the state of California, for my own kids. I love my country. I love California. I've been here. Our family has been here 5 generations, born in California. I'm from a Chinese background, but my ancestors came in the middle 1800s.
Oh, wow.
So I call California my homeland. And it's been really sad for me to see my friends leaving, my family leaving. And I'm like, no, I've got my parents here. My husband has his parents here. We have our 6 kids here.
Yeah.
We've got to stay, because California is worth preserving and improving.
Yeah. And that's really the love that makes sense. Behind the love. What about liberty?
Yeah, and
Because I
then
see
so
there's a few more.
love, lives, liberty, law. Well, a few years ago, we had a lot of Black Lives Matter riots going on, and I felt like, you know, I like I like that word, but I don't want it to have a connotation of violence or defunding the police. And I say that, our lives matter. Your life matters, my life matters. And as I was saying, seeing my friends and family leaving the state of California, they're looking for their livelihoods. A lot of them, it's an economic issue, or their jobs, or it's education.
Yeah.
And then it also it applies to all lives, even from before birth.
Yeah, well, honestly, during BLM, just it often felt very segregatory to me, and I noticed a lot of my friendships affected by it. It seemed to split us up more now than ever. I don't believe it was unifying at all. Just as someone who kind of was in the tail end of high school and then college during that time, it was I think we're further back than we were before, honestly. After BLM, I think that movie Glory was more helpful to end racism. Stuff like that, Morgan Freeman, and you kind of have these icons who really are helping end the stigma against certain races, racism, ending racism.
Right.
But it's like,
And when it comes to issues like racism, I think rather than really focusing on the evil, we need to focus on the solution, which is love.
yeah,
So we really need to love each other and love our neighbor, and that's what I like to focus on. So I say love, lives, liberty, law. I love my neighbor. Your life matters. And then liberty operates when good laws promote peace and prosperity.
yeah,
So we've seen a lot of laws that are actually making a lot of disruption in our society in California rather than peace,
yeah,
and laws that are bringing economic stress instead of prosperity.
yeah.
So liberty, and then we can exercise our liberties when we've got peace and prosperity. Otherwise, we feel like we're being controlled and we're being constrained and we're being restricted.
And that's the thing. As just random citizen of California, it's difficult to know which politicians, which names in the ballots are actually going to defend, my life and my neighbors' lives and the love and our city. Like, it's hard to know who is going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that there is some research that has to be done, and so that's part of a citizen's responsibility, and we're trying to help with that with podcasts like this. But in general, I would say that if you're voting for a state senate position, incumbents have been the ones that have been voting on these laws that have been taking us downhill, and so vote them out and put a change in.
Yeah.
And in our district 25, it's an open seat, so there is no incumbent, and so it's a really great time for me to jump in.
Yeah.
Because the person who's been in that seat is termed out, and so it's time for a new person.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess the old person, I mean, what did that look like?
So Anthony Portantino was the state senator for District 25 for many years, and in the legislature for many years. I think he started before they had term limits, and so
Yeah.
now he's termed out. But he had a lot of bills that, well, he had gun control bills and educational bills that were not, well, I feel like the parents need to have more say in what their school curriculum is, and he was pretty much against that.
Oh my goodness. I'm also a young mom, and that's the thing. I'm kind of really scared to put my child in a public school right now because I feel so powerless to the curriculum that's in there.
Yeah, even so, here we are in June. This is Pride Month. I love rainbows because it's Noah's Ark. But now what the idea is with the rainbow, and children always love rainbows, but they're bringing in gender confusion and a lot of the LGBT agenda into classrooms for very young children, where it just brings confusion. And parents need to know what their kids are getting confused about, because that's something that parents know how to guide their children in the understanding.
But what can be done at like a state senate level about
Well, parental notification laws have been proposed, but they have not been passed, and requiring schools to notify parents. And this is where what I was saying about the 32 to 8 imbalance in the state Senate is that when a bill that would require parental notifications put forward, the 32 Democrats, they vote no. So the parents are being shut out from what's going on with their students.
like majority rules is just shutting out most parents from access to their kids' curriculum.
Yes, and there was a bill going through last year that I believe Portantino was part of that would take the authority of local school districts on choosing curriculum and put that decision making up at the state level. And that's never healthy, to take away authority from the local level, because that's where parents can go in person and have their voice heard at the school district and the school board, and then elect the parents that they want in the school board.
Yeah.
So taking the authority away from local school boards is not good for families.
It's almost dangerous for families, it seems like to me.
Yes, it is. And you've got two of the cutest kids, and and we do not want those little ones and their innocence to be corrupted. And if these children are confused about gender and they're encouraged to do hormone treatment and surgeries, these are not reversible procedures, and it is threatening their lives, actually. So this is something that's very dangerous in the schools right now.
Well, and you're telling me too that it's not just the schools, it's above the schools. It's happening at a state senate level where
Right.
this stuff is being pushed. I mean, that it's easy to feel powerless.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you are not powerless.
I'm not?
No, because here you are on a podcast, and you're learning and you're researching, and you're able to share with others and build up a block of Gen Z voters, Gen Z mom voters, and in those numbers there is power. In our American system, it's created so that we don't have just a dictator at the top, but that we all have a voice and we all participate, and so you're not powerless. We still have a great system, but we need to use it. And so I'm so proud of you, Tara, because you are involved and you are part of it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
So Tara, how old are your children, and what kind of education are you hoping to give them?
My daughter is 4. She's about to be 5, so she's coming up on the kindergarten age. And my son is 2. And I guess I want them to have an education that is built on basic fundamentals of reading, writing, math, maybe a little science, and extra activities like art and music and that kind of stuff. And I don't really want much more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
And your kids don't want much more than that either. At that age, pretty much like 20 minutes at a time is their, really a lot of focus for them. And so to get in the old-fashioned 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, that's about, all you can ask for their little brains to grow on. But you feed those brains every day, a little of that, a little of that, and then give them a lot of playtime. But I think that's a really good plan, Tara. Yeah, because you don't need all this extra rainbow stuff to complicate their lives. They just want to play outside and
and that's the thing. My daughter loves rainbows. So it's very confusing when we go to Target. It gets confusing.
Yeah.
Or when we go to watch Disney Plus, you have the rainbow section, especially in June. And I actually canceled Disney this month because I was like, all my daughter's gonna want to do is go to that rainbow section in Disney Plus, and that completely takes away from what she should be doing, which is the basics.
So what has Disney Plus been showing in June?
They have different shorts. They've been coming out with more movies. The movie that I saw last year was Strange World. It might have come out a year before that, but it's about a young boy who's maybe about 14 or something like that, and he's in love with another young boy. Now, that one's a feature film, and the whole movie is about him basically getting the courage to, and he has to go on this whole adventure, and he has to find that the courage was in him the whole time to ask out this boy. And his parents, his parents support him in this. They're very supportive. And I watched that movie with my daughter, and I didn't realize, I thought when I noticed a bit of the gay stuff in the beginning, I went, oh, okay, that was weird, but I don't think there's going to be more of that. But I didn't realize that it was going to be the whole message of the movie. So I actually had a lot of regret in showing my daughter that. I had guilt. But it's like a PG-rated Disney movie, rated the same as Finding Nemo.
Yeah. Oh, that makes me angry that you kind of got it. You got trapped there. You didn't know what it was. I have 3 grandkids, and my 5-year-old granddaughter was playing Barbies with me, and we just had the Barbies. We had the Barbies, and then we had a little Kelly.
Yeah.
And so Kelly was the daughter, and then Barbie was the mom. But we didn't have any Ken dolls, and so she goes, "Oh, she has 2 moms."
Yeah.
And I asked her, "Oh, do you know people with 2 moms?" And I was just probing where did she get this from, and I discussed with my daughter, she had this came up while we were playing Barbies. Where do you think she got that? And my daughter wasn't sure, but I said, a 5-year-old doesn't come up with that naturally. When I asked my daughter, when we played Barbies when you were little, if we didn't have any Ken dolls, I remember you and your sisters would say, "Oh, all the daddies are at work," or "all the daddies are at war," or sometimes they'd even play, "Oh, all the daddies died." but it never came into their mind that there were all these mommies, and the families were just full of mommies with no daddies. And so I'm not sure if she saw a show like that, but now we've got to address this issue where when you were young, maybe you didn't.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is kids are much more aware of their surroundings than it may seem. Like, we're very aware of the current dialogues happening. I mean, even the fact that, it's like, oh, mom is out protesting the stuff happening at the schools. Well, what's happening at the schools? Oh, I guess they're putting, it's like kids pick up on that stuff even at a young age. So our culture is so infused with it right now. It's kind of hard not, I'm sure it must be really hard for my kids and all the kids out there who are like, why is everyone fighting? Why is everyone arguing? And then, if most kids are pretty smart, they pick up, oh, there's this issue. And I feel like Disney is directly just targeting that at weakness. And the Disney that we have today is not the Disney that we had in early 2000s. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people believe that it is. And, you want to go on there and you want to watch like Aladdin from the 90s, or you want to watch like Cinderella or even Tangled, something like that. You want to show your kid that movie. But then you get on there and suddenly it's like, oh yeah, you have Strange World, or you have these shorts. Like there's another one called Out. That's about a guy who is afraid of coming out to his parents because he's in love with a man, and he's an older man, and this is a Disney short. And then so he switched places with his dog. He switched places with his dog. And then so his dog goes around hiding evidence in the house that he's gay when his parents come over.
Oh my goodness.
So a kid stumbles on that, maybe not at their house, but maybe at a friend's house or something. And then it's like, oh, like there's a big deal about two guys being in love, and that's all they know.
Yeah.
So it's really unfortunate.
Oh my goodness. Well, thanks for sharing that, Tara. I don't watch Disney Plus. I had no idea what's going on there.
Think about all the people that do.
Right.
It's so popular. Right. Yeah, it really is.
And Tara, I know that you're a teacher. What do you teach?
I teach an enrichment program of chess. So it's, sometimes I go to schools, sometimes I go to a building that is dedicated to this. And we teach kids young as 5 up to about 16, 17, 18 chess.
Wow, how fun.
Yeah.
I think that's great for brain development. How did you get into that?
Well, I was raised in chess. My mom believed that it was good for brain development. So it was like after school clubs for me. I used to go to chess lessons. And then pretty soon, when I was about 6 years old, I started competing. And then in chess tournaments. And then as I got older, the competition got higher. And then eventually I was hired as a chess coach, and I was trained in that. And it was very much an apprenticeship model, which is a really, that's a really good either addition to school or alternative to school.
Yeah.
Is the apprenticeship model, because you give your child a skill set that, frankly, in a lot of circumstances is just as valuable as a degree.
Oh yeah, I think that's really valuable learning, because you're watching someone doing it and you're learning to do it with them, and it's easier than reading a manual.
Yeah, and I learned from some of the top-rated chess players in the nation, and most of them were Armenian. So I also learned a lot about the Armenian culture, and I learned that chess in Armenia is actually very valued. And so it's just been, I'm really grateful for the experience, and I highly recommend that chess is an extracurricular activity for youth, because it teaches not only strategy, but it teaches patience, it teaches logic skills and thinking skills, and it sharpens us. It sharpens our mind,
Yeah, oh, that is so cool. And I know you've got to get on to teaching your class. So
Yeah.
thanks for being on today, Tara. And thank you all for listening today to our podcast. And this is Our Time with Elizabeth Wong Ahlers, running for state senate. Elizabeth for Senate 24.com.